All right, everybody, I've got 11 o'clock. My name is Eric Hayden. I'm a meteorologist with the National Weather Service in Newport, Morehead City. This is our current radar image showing some light precipitation moving across our area, most of which temperatures are above freezing. We'll show you in a second. It's not really amounting to too much, but even in some of those areas that have temperatures above freezing, getting some reports of a couple snowflakes mixing in down toward Morehead City. Still, the biggest concern is up to the north, up toward Highway 64, and then also down through Greenville and Duplin counties. We'll show some of those areas right now. Just to give you a little taste, this precipitation is very light and spotty, very scattered right now. It's 11 o'clock. Over the next couple of hours, and especially into the afternoon, this will fill in and it also will intensify, especially areas to the north where some of that precip will be just a little bit heavier. So what you see outside right now is going to change quite a bit as we get into the afternoon, and it'll all depend on temperature. I want to give you a quick look on the temperatures that are outside right now. Many of the areas are seeing temperatures below freezing, specifically across the north, the far north. So we've got temperatures below freezing up toward the Albemarle Sound. So we'll be in these areas: northern Washington, Tyrrell County, Martin County, you're 29 near Williamston now, right at the freezing mark in Greenville. So these areas across the north initially will stand the highest chance for some ice and some snow. Down to the south, it is much warmer. Cannot tell you how different this storm is versus the one we had a couple weeks ago. We're in the 20s for the most part, mid-20s at that, when we had all snow a couple weeks ago. This is not the same type of scenario. Huge difference in temperature, huge difference in amounts of snow and ice across the area. Down toward the Crystal Coast, you might have a couple snowflakes mixing in. At the moment, it will not amount to anything because we have temperatures well above freezing, and we do not expect that to change. So bigger issues, again, farther to the north. We'll be monitoring these temperatures on our website, weather.gov/Morehead City. At the very top, there's something called current conditions, and you can get it in a list form or a map form. This is what I'm displaying right here, just showing you the map of temperatures. And again, huge difference. We do expect as we get into the afternoon, and especially after sunset, this colder air on a northeast wind will gradually move down toward the coast, and that's where we'll see some problems for the majority of the area. For some of us, not until after sunset, and for some of us, not until after midnight. This is the briefing that we sent out earlier this morning. No real changes to this. Just want to highlight a couple key points with this. Number one, the winter storm headlines have not changed. This remains the same, so we're still expecting some of the higher amounts across the north. That's where we have the winter storm warning in effect for those areas. So winter storm warning for a combination of snow and ice across the north, and then really for ice down from Greenville through Kenansville and New Bern. Winter weather advisories, more of a nuisance, coastal areas, southern Onslow and Carteret County. Again, really not a big deal until we get until later tonight. And then the central part of the Outer Banks, and for much of the Outer Banks, not anything but rain. But as you head to the north, we've got that winter storm warning. Just a difference between Nags Head and Duck is going to be appreciable. We are predicting around 4 inches in Duck, and where 64 comes into Nags Head, 0.1 inches of snow. So huge difference across the northern part of the area, and we'll try to highlight that with our forecast here in a second. Ice is going to be the big story for most of us. The reason why we're not expecting as much snow as they are even just in far northeast North Carolina, north of Albemarle Sound, is we expect rain to mix in along the coast, and we expect sleet and freezing rain to mix in with the snow elsewhere. This will hold snowfall amounts down. However, this will also cling to things like trees and power lines, and we do expect a 1/4 inch of ice, most likely in those red shaded areas. So Duplin County, places like Kenansville, Beulahville, up through southern Lenoir County, Deep Run, Kinston, Snow Hill, up in Greene County, certainly Greenville and Point South, Ayden, over toward Chocowinity and Washington. Those areas stand the best chance for at least a 1/4 inch or more of ice. That's kind of the threshold where we become concerned with power outages. And freezing rain, again, accumulates to trees, power lines, and it weighs things down. We're thinking the highest winds will be closer to the coast, and that'll be a saving grace. But any little bit of a breeze, along with that weight of the ice on the trees, could cause some issues with power outages later today and tonight. Again, most likely in those red shaded areas. that is our highest concern with impacts, will be the icing. The other thing to point out, we've got beautiful waterways. We also have beautiful bridges. Those ice over first. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but those also linger the longest. So we may have some issues with icing on the roadways, especially those elevated surfaces right into Thursday morning. So ice is by far the biggest concern for us. We are on the edge of very, very heavy snowfall. This is our forecasted snowfall amount, including our friends from the Raleigh Forecast Office and Wakefield. Want to give you a little wider perspective on this. For most of us, it is a non-event with snowfall. The sleet will mix in and cut down totals, so really just a trace. Places like Kenansville, New Bern, maybe a few flakes, Western Carteret County, just not really amounting to too much in terms of snowfall. As you get north of a line from Greenville to Belhaven, that's where it could pick up. Right around an inch in Greenville, kind of a snow-sleet combination. Again, it's not that pretty snow we saw a couple weeks ago, but right along Highway 64, that is going to be the dividing line between nothing, or literally nothing, and a lot of snow. So in our forecast area, 2 to 3 inches of snow, places like Williamston, Plymouth, Columbia, right along 64. But as you head to the northern part of Tyrrell County, Washington County, Martin County, right along the southern shore of the Albemarle Sound, it could change quite a bit. At the top, I put that in as a reminder for myself, weather.gov/forecast points. Highly recommend you check that out. I just did it recently, and again, 0.1 inches of snow predicted as 64 comes into Nags Head. And then just on the edge of this map, Duck, we're predicting 3 to 4 inches of snow. So Dare County, a huge range, specifically that extreme northern part of the county is where we expect the highest totals, places like Southern Shores and Duck. And then notice up across the southern part of like Chowan and Bertie County, 6 to 8 inches of snow. So again, near the Albemarle Sound and northward is where we expect the highest amounts of snow. It will be a wet snow, so while we don't expect as much, if at all, freezing rain up in that area, it still could cling to power lines and trees, and you may have some power issues as well. The reason why I'm showing you this, any slight shift in the storm track, we still think this is the most likely scenario, 2 to 3 inches across our far north. But notice you can just throw a stone across the Albemarle Sound to get 6 to 8 inches. So it's not hard for imagination for that to shift south just a little bit. We've been showing you this worst case scenario. This is not likely. This is not what we expect. The reason why I want to show you this is if we're going to have heavier bands of snow, we're right on that line. It's going to be extreme northern Martin County, Washington County, Tyrrell County, and again, especially northern Outer Banks, Dare, Kitty Hawk northward. Again, we're really talking southern shores up toward Duck, some of the higher totals. Just want to show you that we could have some higher amounts. If they're going to happen, it will be up in that area. And again, highly recommend that weather.gov/forecast points to get specifics. It's really hard to get into the details on a format like this where we have emergency managers from down toward the Wilmington area and then all the way up toward Richmond. So we've got a lot of folks on the call. Want to re-highlight the timing a little bit. I'm going to actually hop out of this for a second because I want to show you something different. Let me try to do this. I try to set this up in advance so we can kind of do a timing on the snowfall. This is what we call a blend of models. I want you to look at it for a couple things I'm going to be talking about. Don't get too pretty with the specifics because there are going to be some differences from model to model, from forecast to forecast, but we thought this was the best depiction of what our forecast is. And we'll go back to now, 11 a.m. The precip is very light outside right now, so maybe some sleet pellets, maybe some snowflakes, but again, watch that temperature. If you're not below freezing, you just don't have to worry about it. And for a lot of us, the bigger concern is going to come after sunset, where not only temperatures fall, but then we lose that solar radiation from the sun. But as we get into the afternoon, I'm going to stop this at 3 o'clock. A couple of things you'll notice, the colors get darker. That's because the precipitation is going to pick up. Primarily all rain, Onslow County, Carteret County, most of the Outer Banks. Across the far north, mostly snow, specifically northern Dare County, right across northern Tyrrell, Washington, Martin counties, mainly in the form of snow. But I'm going to hover above Greenville. You're in that pink shading. If you can't see the percentages, about a 51% chance of sleet, a 37% chance of freezing rain. So mainly that sleet, freezing rain mixture versus up toward the Albemarle Sound, a much, much higher percent of snow. The other reason why I want to show you this is this pink shaded area could be a mix of everything. A little bit of snow, but primarily sleet and freezing rain in these inland areas. As we progress into the evening, a precip may lighten up for a time and then re-intensify. So we'll have some of these periods of heavier precip, but you'll notice the theme: rain along the immediate coast, snow, especially far northeast North Carolina, and then the battleground is our northern part of the area. Primarily sleet and freezing rain. Again, I'm picking on Greenville, but 55% chance of freezing rain, 26 sleet, and only 16% snow. So this pink area is predominantly sleet and freezing rain. This blue area, predominantly snow, but even up here, you will probably have some sleet pellets mixing in from time to time. And that plays havoc with that snowfall forecast. Any ice that mixes in will hold those snowfall amounts down, and that's why we have such a gradient across the far northeast. I'm going to continue to go through the late evening. You'll notice a couple things happen. 11 o'clock, the precip starts to lighten up a little bit. We don't have those bright shadings, but we do have some colder air coming back into some of our areas. So down through Onslow County, Jones County, this is when we start to see some of the ice start to get into your area, while we may change to some rain and more of a wet scenario up toward the Outer Banks toward 11 o'clock. But gradually, as we head through the overnight, we will animate this. Precipitation lightens in intensity, but that cold air goes all the way to the coast. So we think a lot of places overnight tonight will have at least a little sleet and freezing rain. That's when we start to get into some icing conditions, maybe Carteret, coastal Onslow. But again, that cold air continues to wrap in. As we head toward daybreak, most of the precipitation may come to an end, and then the models are doing a pretty good job that most of us will see some scattered snow showers tomorrow, perhaps even most of the Outer Banks. Not amounting to too much, but do not be surprised as we get into tomorrow afternoon if we just have a light coating of snowfall as this all ends. So I'm going to hop back to the timing map on this. Again, just to give you a general overview, most of the hazardous travel will be later today and especially tonight as we lose that sunshine. I know it's cloudy outside, but that's still warming up the asphalt, still warming up our surfaces. So tomorrow or tonight is our biggest impact. You'll notice that while the snow and ice come to an end on Thursday, we've left hazardous travel right through Thursday night, especially where we have appreciable amounts of precipitation. Anything wet tomorrow night will freeze. We're forecasting lows in the teens. And then again, as we get into Friday night, I think most of that stuff will be gone by then, but especially for you folks that get 2, 3, 4 inches of snow, it's going to linger with daytime highs barely getting above freezing, nighttime lows in the teens Thursday night and Friday night. So if we do lose power, that will be a concern with folks without heating. And that's a message that we've been trying to promote. We're not talking about a crippling ice storm, but when you talk amounts near quarter inch, maybe higher, and then you're talking about at least a few nights in the teens, for folks without power, that could be an issue. So definitely preparing folks for that, staying warm when the power is out. And there's some tips on there as well.